If we want to make serious inroads into this issue, this appalling issue of massive income inequality, we can't afford to get misdirected by the minutiae that the mainstream political parties want to put forward as the main cause of the problem of inequality. You know, Honest Dave and Millionaire Miliband are like competing used car salesmen. They want us to have a look at the shiny exterior of their vehicles, and they don't want us to look underneath the bonnet to see what's inside. Because they know that if we do, we're going to see that they've removed the TD-V8 engine and they've replaced it with an 1100cc engine. Now, what I want to do this evening is to have a look under the bonnet. Have a look at the real causes of inequality in this country, and not just in this country, but internationally. The main cause of massive income inequality in Britain and abroad is the fact that there is progressively more and more market share going to multinational corporations that harbour the majority of their profits offshore in tax-efficient jurisdictions. And at the same time, our small businesses can't possibly compete with these multinational corporations, not only because these multinational corporations are paying effectively a tiny percentage of their revenues in tax, but also because the successive governments, both Conservatives and Labour, and I challenge anybody to show me any substantive differences in their economic policies going back over several decades, not only because of that, the main cause of income inequality is the fact that our small businesses can't possibly compete. They are shackled with so many regulations, so much red tape that they can't possibly navigate their way through, that business owners repeatedly come to me and tell me they don't want to employ new staff. They don't want to stimulate job growth because it's so onerous taking on new members of staff that it's just not worth the hassle. So they're contented to stay as self-employed people. They don't grow. And what UKIP proposes to do is to level up the playing field so that these big multinational corporations are required to contribute taxes on a similar footing to small businesses. And in case you doubt the loyalty that the mainstream parties have to big business, and in case you doubt the motivation for massive amounts of regulations and legislation to be applied to small businesses, I'd ask you to cast your mind back 2 years to June 2013 to the Bilderberg Conference at the Grove Hotel in Watford over the weekend of the 6th to 9th of June. In case you don't believe me, please go home tonight and Google the attendees list for this Bilderberg Conference in June. And what you will see is that this secret meeting, where the attendees observed Chatham House rules, and Chatham House rules mean that you can't disclose any aspects of any conversations that you've had at these meetings once you go home. At this meeting, Ed Balls was invited, George Osborne was invited, the heads of Deutsche Bank, Barclays, HSBC, BP, Royal Dutch Shell, as well as Jose Manuel Barroso, head of the European Commission at the time, as well as Christine Lagarde, who I will remind you wants to freeze all bank accounts in Europe and skim off 10%. And if you don't believe that, please have a look on the IMF's website. Download Taxing Times. It's a PDF attachment. All of these people are meeting behind closed doors, in secret, at the Grove Hotel, having secret discussions. Now, with all due respect to our friend from the Liberal Democrats, the Conservatives came out and Labour were queuing up to castigate Starbucks, Google, Amazon for their failure to pay fair taxes. But the reality is it's just a masquerade. In public, the mainstream political parties are the avowed adversaries of these multinational corporations. But in secret, they're invited as VIP guests to attend these secret meetings and to absorb their agenda. This is where it's really coming from. And I can prove it. You'll probably hear some snickering from Labour over here, but have a look what happened in that year, in 2013. Okay? Google had revenues of £3.6 billion in the UK, and they paid £21.7 million in taxes. Amazon had revenues of £4.3 billion, and they paid £10 million in taxes. Now, to put that into perspective, that's like a small business owner turning over about 100 grand a year and paying 60 pence a day in tax. It's totally appalling. Now, the mainstream parties don't want to talk about this because these are the people that they're loyal to. Look at the whole construct of the European Union. We've all been brainwashed by the BBC, who have absorbed 30 million euros in funding over a 6-year period from the European Union, to believe that the European Union is so wonderful. It might as well always be a charitable organisation. But the reality is the European Union is just working to arrogate more and more power into the hands of progressively fewer and fewer people. And the same with TTIP. We want to shut out all the developing countries. We want to do business with big countries like USA. And what you're going to see in a few years' time, if you don't oppose this by voting UKIP, is that America is going to get its dirty little hands all over our NHS. I wish I could say more, but please feel free to ask me questions afterwards. I'm aware I'm out of time. Sorry.